Hi everyone and welcome back to Saturn Secrets. Today we're discussing the June 2021 astrology and the fated changes for your zodiac sign. Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we are discussing the June 2021 horoscopes. We have a solar eclipse in Gemini, meaning that this month is a significant change for all of the zodiac signs depending on where it's falling in your chart. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for regular updates. So June is Gemini season, and we all know about Gemini energy. They are the twins of the zodiac. There is duality, there's mutability, there's a lot of versatility, a lot of animation, and a lot of excitement with Gemini energy. And this is quite a Gemini season to remember. Not only because Gemini's ruler Mercury is retrograde in its home sign of Gemini for most of the month, but also because we have a solar eclipse in Gemini too. So the Gemini energy this month is strong. Now Gemini is the ruler of the third house, and the third house is actually based on communication, based on writing, based on how we articulate ourselves, the language that we speak, but it's also a lot to do with our preconceptions. So when we think about Gemini energy, we think of that phase in our life where we're just beginning as small children to explore the world, to develop our communication skills, to understand that certain words mean certain things, that we have to say our please and thank you, that we have to ask certain questions, that we can get in trouble for certain questions or certain phrases or certain words. And Gemini energy is also where we develop our preconceptions of life, depending on, in a lot of cases, where we fall in the family, what sibling we are, whether we're the oldest, the middle, or the youngest. A lot of the time we see that depending on where you fall in the family, you can be quite different in personality based on that. For example, the youngest child can be known as the funny one, or the clown, or the one that's spoiled, or the oldest one can be the responsible one. And sometimes middle children can feel overlooked. Those type of preconceptions that we have based on where we fall with our siblings, or even if we're an only child, can influence our relationships later on in life. So there's a quote by Tagore that sums it up pretty well, and that is, we read the world wrong and then say that it deceives us. And this is where our preconceptions come into play. Gemini is mirroring seasons, so what we are thinking, what we are feeling can oftentimes be expressed outward, and it's not necessarily the same experience. You can have two people in a room that are going through the same thing. If you think about two people on a plane, they can be internally having completely different experiences. One can be really excited that they're going somewhere, and the other one can be absolutely panicked thinking the plane's going to come down. These are our preconceptions based on our fears, our experiences, or what we learned as a child, and how we built up our belief system, what we think. And then we look for evidence to confirm that. That is what we see with Gemini season. So because the ruler of Gemini is Mercury and it is retrograde meaning we turn the energy inwards, it's a beautiful time to have a little bit of a think and a little bit of a reflection on what it is that you're expecting based on your thoughts, what your preconceptions are. For example, saying you think that a certain type of person will always be this way. You think that rich people will always be rude or bad people, for example. Something like that. It's a preconception based on maybe your parents or your experience in your life before. These type of preconceptions determine our thoughts, then our actions, and then our life. Another thing to bear in mind with Mercury retrograde in Gemini is that the best thing you can do this whole season, this whole month, is to listen. When we think of the third house, we think of Gemini energy, we think of communication. A lot of people jump instantly to how we articulate ourselves, how we speak our minds, the language that we use. And these are key components of Gemini energy. But because of the retrograde, you can find yourself getting into a lot of bother in terms of the words you use. There can be easy miscommunications, especially if you are going on a short trip and you're trying to navigate a map and there's more than one person in the car. There can be issues with cars and short journeys at this time, but there can be a lot of room for miscommunication in our dialogue, and this can be something that is actually addressed through listening, because most of the miscommunication will come from not listening or having these preconceived notions of what's going to happen. And this is where communication breaks down. It's not that we suddenly all start saying the wrong thing. It's more to do with what's going on up here. So if you want to navigate a Gemini retrograde season, the best thing to do is ask yourself, what am I thinking at this moment? Or what am I expecting? Because you know yourself, if you're really afraid of sending the email to the wrong person, eventually it happens and you have to deal with it. It's the law of attraction. And sometimes, whether we like it or not, it doesn't work in our favor based on what's actually going on in our heads. The solar eclipse in Gemini is a huge turning point for all of us, because eclipses can indicate a change in destiny, it can indicate a change in direction, and this new moon is an interesting one because it's actually trine Saturn and square Neptune. So whenever I was talking about the reading the world wrong quote by Tagore, we think the world deceives us. When we think of Neptune, oftentimes the mind goes straight to the illusions of the world, to the deceptions of the world, and we oftentimes think that this must be something external, because for sure we couldn't deceive ourselves. Oh no, we could. When we have the Gemini energy in a tense conversation with Neptune and Pisces, which we have had every year since about 2012 or so, since Neptune moved into Pisces in 2011, we can find that we oftentimes delude ourselves in what we want or what we think, or we realize that our notions about life can hold us back. And oftentimes we realize that in hindsight. We realize, I really was thinking, I don't know what I was thinking. For example, I don't know what I was thinking. And that shows growth as a person. If you can question what you were thinking before and you don't know why you did something so stupid, or you don't know why you made this mistake, that shows growth as a person, because you're thinking about it. And so we can look back and see where we deluded ourselves. But a way to be more present is to ask ourselves why we think a certain thing, or why we're doing a certain thing. So with this new moon, because it's in support with Saturn, Saturn loves commitment, Saturn loves longevity, Saturn loves wisdom. We think with the new moon in Gemini trining Saturn, and this being a solar eclipse, what would we like to develop? And also, what illusions within our own mind or within our own life that we've created would we like to move away from? Set yourself a goal for 6 months from now, maybe in a Gemini activity, maybe something you'd love to learn. Maybe you'd love to write a book. Maybe you would love to learn a language. Maybe you would love to have a collection of poems published. Anything that is in the Gemini arena. Maybe you would like to start your own YouTube channel. Maybe you would like to get a job in media, or maybe you would like to give up social media. With Mercury retrograde in Gemini, that's something that could be beneficial for a lot of people, especially because we're not necessarily going to be getting the full picture, as we have not done recently, because of the Gemini and Pisces clash. As much as this can mean, yes, we deceive ourselves, we can also be aware that both can happen. We can be deceiving ourselves, and we can be deceived by others, particularly in the media and how that it works with people. There can be a lot of manipulation because it's selling a product or it's selling an agenda. We can see a lot of stuff coming out about the BBC, Martin Bashir and Princess Diana, and how he had manipulated her into that interview. These type of things are coming to the surface because of the conversation that the true node in Gemini that is leading us at this time has had with Neptune, and now they have separated somewhat, but we're going to see the after effect of that in Gemini season 2. Particularly with Mercury in retrograde, it can actually dig up a lot of information that we weren't aware of. The full moon that we have this month is in the sign of Capricorn, and this is going to be sextiling Jupiter. So when we have a full moon in Capricorn, it can expose information about our governments, our political systems, people in hierarchy, people in power, the manipulation of power, this sort of thing. There can be a changing of the guard around this time in those areas. But this particular full moon is also going to be impacting us all in terms of our long-term goals, reputation, and our career agenda. Now, the beautiful thing about this is that it's going to be sextiling Jupiter, and I think, according to my notes, it is a couple of days, yes, it's a couple of days after Jupiter goes retrograde. But that doesn't mean Jupiter has any less of a lucky effect. In fact, with this full moon sextiling Jupiter, there can be some beautiful change for a lot of people in terms of career, in terms of long-term goals, because there's hope involved with Jupiter. We have faith, we have hope in the culmination of things. So a lot of people could be finding that they are graduating. You could be getting results around this time in terms of your education. You could be getting a promotion. You could be getting a lot of traction on your long-term goals. We find with this sextile to Jupiter that this can be a very lucky full moon for a lot of people. And interestingly, around this time too, the ruler of this full moon is Saturn, and it is going to be harmonizing with the true node. Now, it did this back in April, but Saturn is retrograding. And interestingly, we can sometimes see in the media or in the land of celebrity or culture that there can be some significant change going on with this time. And this is actually back in April, whenever this happened, was when Prince Philip died. And this was a significant thing in the news for people in the UK, for people that love the royal family, for the royal family itself. It doesn't mean that it necessarily changes the world per se, but it can have an impact on destiny, something that happens around this time. When Saturn and the true node are in conversation, this also back in April was whenever we noticed that certain countries were ready to open up a little bit. If you think of Saturn in Aquarius is to do with social restrictions, and trining the true node, it's showing us the direction that this is going. Now, Saturn is going to be retrograde at this time, meaning that social restrictions are lessened gradually. We experienced this last year whenever Saturn started to retrograde. Things started to open up again on the world planet. What a Mercury retrograde faux pas on the world plane. And so with this particular energy, you can expect around this time that a lot more things could be opening up. Now, this will depend on the individual dates, the birth charts of each country. That is something to bear in mind around this time, to see where it falls in the country that you're in. So this could give you some explanation as to what that means for your particular place of residence. But this is a full moon that really is quite auspicious, I think, because of its link to Jupiter. And when we have Capricorn and a Pisces energy uniting like this, we have the idealistic dreamer of Pisces and the hard worker of Capricorn. The two combine to make dreams a reality. We also have the second of 3 Saturn-Uranus squares this month. And this is going to be a time to consider again what it is that you would like to break free from. With Saturn loves restrictions. Saturn typically restricts the area that it's in. It teaches us lessons where it is. And Uranus likes to think of the future, likes to be innovative, and likes to throw caution to the wind and try something new. Now, the interesting thing about Saturn is that Saturn is actually where we sometimes limit ourselves in terms of creativity. So when Saturn and Uranus are having a conversation, they both bring really different opinions. It's just quite unusual because Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, and that's where Saturn is. So there's this push and pull between the old, the tried and tested, and the new and the innovations, and where we can maybe also challenge power and authority a little bit. So in terms of your life, where would you like to challenge this authoritarian voice in your head that's telling you, no, you can't do something? Play it safe. Saturn loved to play it safe. Saturn actually ate his own kids, because Saturn was Cronus in Greek mythology. Saturn actually ate its own kids to prevent them taking over his legacy. I might be paraphrasing that story just a little bit, but the gist of it is that sometimes we can inhibit ourselves so much with Saturn. It's important to have responsibilities and rules within your own life, morals, etc., and to learn from your mistakes. That is something that is a gift. That is something that is a wise choice to make with Saturn energy. But every planet has its darker side, and Saturn can restrict us so much. We also have Jupiter and Neptune going retrograde in the sign of Pisces, which means that we're going to be having a little bit of a reassessment on what it is that we dream in this world, what it is that we need to heal in this world, what parts of ourselves we need to heal at this time. Whenever you have Jupiter in Pisces, you can bet that a lot of the conversation, a lot of the media is going to go towards different types of therapies, different types of healing, different types of spiritual work. These type of things are going to be up in the news at this time. These are the type of things that people are going to be drawn to, the things that are going to become more trendy. But with Jupiter and Neptune retrograding in Pisces, the best thing that you can do for yourself is reevaluate how you heal yourself, what you're working on. Do you make time for you? And this isn't to say that you need to absolutely dedicate your life to working on yourself. Working on yourself is indeed a goal. You should have other things outside of it though, so that you're not entirely focused and become obsessive over your flaws or the things that you do need to work on. It's all about balance here. But with Jupiter and Neptune both retrograding in Pisces, perhaps reflect on what it is that you would like to work on within yourself, your inner world, because the human mind is 90%, I believe, your subconscious. And when we have Pisces energy, the subconscious becomes that little bit louder and that little bit easier to work with. The retrograde energy with Pisces, It's that much easier to look inward and figure out some things that maybe are holding you back in this life. So with June in general, I think the energy is about understanding what it is that's holding you back in life, be it your subconscious, be it your preconceptions of the world, the things that you would like to change within to see change on the outside. The solar eclipse itself is more to do with the changes going on around you in terms of Gemini energy, where this falls in your chart, and I will get into this in the individual horoscopes. But this is a really wonderful time to read a book, to write something, to read books that change your mindset, change your outlook, to do self-improvement work, to really get interested in things, to get interested in life, to ask questions, and to try and understand how you communicate with the world in general, not just with others, but with yourself, how you talk to yourself, how you talk to others. And if you're the person that speaks first, or if you feel like you have a certain place and you don't want to move around in that, the preconceptions that you have are easier to notice at this time, easier to reflect on, and easier to change. So I'm going to do an animal spirit card and then get into the astrology horoscopes for each sign. If you have joined me thus far, thank you for watching. Okay, so let's get into the animal spirit deck and see what we have as an animal spirit messenger for June 2021 for this fantastic Gemini season. Gemini season always makes me think of Peter Pan, where he talked about the world is full of faith, trust, and pixie dust. Gemini energy is forever young at heart, which is why Peter Pan is the archetype for Gemini energy. Always asking questions, always curious, with a disdain of being bored. The wheel. I love this because Neptune and Jupiter being retrograde in Pisces, Pisces being the sign of the fish, and that water energy coming through here is quite intriguing. But we're also moving into Cancer season this month. And with the energy shifting into the water signs, a lot of this can be to do with reflecting on what you have learned in terms of emotional maturity. You know, Gemini is an energy that is more comfortable in considering and thinking about feelings rather than actually feeling them. The wheel energy always represents whenever we have been through difficult terrains and what we've learned in that time, especially about ourselves, but also emotionally speaking. Emotional maturity is typically something that comes from experience. So when we have the solar eclipse trining Saturn, a lover of experience and wisdom, we can ask ourselves what challenges we have overseen, what challenges we've overcome, what we have experienced, and how it's shaped us to be who we are, so that as we go forward with these new changes, we have more awareness, we have more facts, I guess, because Gemini loves facts. We have more awareness in order to navigate the new waters that we go into with Cancer season. So with Gemini season being a time to really consider what our preconceptions, our notions of the world are, what we're expecting, what our prejudices are, what we're anticipating in the world when we go out and meet it, what we expect to meet. There's actually a study, I think I talked about it a couple of monthly horoscope videos ago, where they asked about optimistic people. They were doing a study on optimistic people, and oftentimes it was literally just based on the mindset. They found that people who were considered lucky considered themselves lucky, and people that didn't consider themselves lucky weren't lucky. So what your preconception is of yourself and of life. And people who were more optimistic, people who believed in experience working out for them in the long run, or who believed that life was open to them, typically spotted better circumstances for themselves. They typically spotted opportunities. Now, this is something that is really key with the wheel card, because if you have reflected on what you've experienced, if you have taken a moment to understand what it meant for you, what you learned from it, you can better anticipate what's around the corner, or you can better spot the opportunities that are available to you. That's also emotional maturity, having been through something, grown from it, and also learned so that you can, one, prevent it from happening best you can, but also know that you have the confidence to navigate something that is challenging. So the key for Gemini season's transition into Cancer season is, especially in terms of your feelings, what have you learned? What would you like to change about yourself with that eclipse? What you'd like to commit to with Saturn and Aquarius trining the eclipse? And then as we move into Cancer season, allowing yourself to feel what it is that you want to feel, or allowing yourself to feel what it is that you do feel. understanding that your subconscious, the psyche, will demand to be heard, meaning that if you try and avoid the feelings you've had, try and avoid the experiences you've had, you mask them or you push them to the bottom of your ocean, it can be that they will just come up in dreams. They will just repeat in patterns in your life until you notice the pattern. So whatever pattern you notice in June, pay attention to it and maybe commit to doing some inner work and reflection on it. That's what emotional maturity is. I took a long time to get there in terms of explaining that card, but I think the wheel energy is one that we can all understand. And wheel personalities as well. If you're dealing with people that have been through a lot in their lifetime, you often find people that have been through a lot or have experienced something that's really hurt them, they either become very cold and closed off, or they become much kinder to people. I often find that there's two. Now this can just be a preconception of mine, but I often find that there's some people allow those experiences to soften them and to make them kinder to others, and then there's other people that can make them very closed off, and it both can come from the same experience, but there's a choice involved there. So whatever it is that you've experienced over the last year, in particular with the whale energy, what tricky waters you have been navigating, this is a time to reflect on it and see what choices and what expectations you have based on your own experiences, and maybe do a little bit of healing in there too. If you're looking to start therapy or try something that is very healing at this time, provided it's good for you, because sometimes with Pisces energy people can use escapism, but they don't understand that with Piscean energy, sometimes the deeper we swim, the more understanding we get. So with Jupiter and Neptune both in Pisces, retrograding, if you start any kind of therapy or any kind of healing, you're likely to make a lot of headway this time of the year, this month in particular, and July, in healing something within you that has maybe been dictating your patterns, your expectations. But that is what I have for the June 2021 astrology. If you're interested in what it means for your zodiac sign, the timestamps are listed below. Thank you for listening. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Aries, and welcome to your June 2021 horoscope. So Aries, we have a solar eclipse in your 3rd house and we have a full moon in your 10th house, meaning that at the beginning of the month there's a lot of focus, especially with Mercury retrograde, on your communication style, on your written word, your language, your communication, your listening skills, but also your siblings and your neighbours at this time as well. There might be some changes in terms of your neighbourhood, in terms of your neighbours, or in terms of the lives of your siblings or your relationships with your siblings. There might be a new beginning there. Now this could be coming into some kind of friction with your 12th house. It might be that there has been things going on behind the scenes with your siblings or your neighbours, or it might be that you have been bottling up some feelings or things that you would like to say for a long time, and you realise that these are actually adversely affecting you and they need to come to the fore. However, with this eclipse, there is likely going to be long-term benefits from the changes that you make now in terms of your communication style, in terms of how you articulate yourself, and in terms of your relationships with siblings and neighbours. We have a full moon in Capricorn at the end of the month, and this is going to be aspecting Jupiter in your sector of the unseen as well. So both the solar eclipse, the new moon, and the full moon are in contact with your 12th house, which is the behind the scenes energy. So there is actually a lot of stuff going on for you behind the scenes, but at the end of the month you're going to find that your career, your long-term goals and your reputation is actually positively impacted by these behind the scene energies. You could find that people are really bigging you up behind the scenes, people are talking about you in a positive way in terms of your career and your reputation, or maybe if something comes to light that is negative, it's actually, so this is going to benefit you in the long term. We also have energies going on with your sector of friendships and networking. Saturn is there and it's going to be clashing with Uranus in your 2nd house, meaning that it's not a good time to lend friends money. It's not a good time to put too much financial value into your group projects, into your finances in some way around this time, and it's a good time to reassess what it is that you value in terms of friendships as a whole. We also find this month that Saturn is trining the true node. Now the true node is in your communication sector and Saturn is in your friendship and group sector, meaning that you may need to take on more of a speaking role. You might need to be the one that organizes things. You might need to be the one that vocalizes things or takes on a role of communication within a group setting or a charity setting. We also have Venus and Mars this month both moving into Leo, your 5th house, which is playful, it's exciting, it's passionate, but with Mars being there, it could cause a little bit of friction in your romantic relationships or with your children. It could cause a little bit of friction for you creatively, but this can all be channeled constructively. Mars is your ruler, so you can channel this energy constructively to make something quite passionate and special for yourself. You can change your frustration and your tensions into passion, both in love and art. We have Venus though entering Leo at the end of the month, but Venus will be in Cancer for most of the month, and then we're going to move into Cancer season, putting a lot of focus on your home and family. Your housing situation, your relationships with your family are going to be benefiting from the behind the scenes work as well, thanks to the links that Cancer season makes with Neptune in Pisces. It might be that in terms of your romantic relationships, your romance could be very healing at this time, your creativity could be very healing, your relationships with your family could also be healing at this time too, and it might be that you are working on beautifying your home, or you are giving beautiful finishing touches to your home in some capacity. Jupiter and Neptune are also going to be retrograde in your 12th house by the end of the month, and this means that it's a beautiful time to do a little bit of soul searching, a little bit of healing, and a little bit of work on your inner self. Don't forget, most of your mind is subconscious, so the more that you pay attention to your dreams, the more that you journal your feelings or you reflect on these things, the more you grow and the more that you expand. When we really take the time to work on our 12th house, we find that it makes us glow on the outside, because the work we do in the 12th house will positively impact our new beginnings we begin in the 1st house. And while we're far enough away from some new beginnings in our 1st house for you, Aries, this is still inner work that you can do on a slower basis, but with Jupiter there, the more inner work you do, the more you're going to benefit in terms of luck. So these are your tarot cards for the month of June. We have the community card as your oracle card, and this means that there is a lot of focus with the Aquarian energy. Saturn is kind of active this month despite being retrograde. It's active with the new moon solar eclipse, meaning that it's an important time to really get to grips with what your friendships mean. And similarly, we have the Saturn-Uranus square for the 2nd time, meaning that you need to know what you value most in a friendship, what you're getting out of your friendships, what you're putting into them, how that feels, and how they reflect you as a person and the person that you're becoming. It's a wonderful time to figure out what groups you belong to, what social dynamics you belong to. And for a lot of you, you really are, with the 8 of Wands, you're being asked to take on a more extroverted role within groups, to speak more, to articulate your thoughts in particular. We also have the Lovers and the 10 of Pentacles. So with the energy of Mars and Venus moving into your 5th house, which is very romantic, we have a lot of emphasis on your love life. For those of you that are looking for love, you could find someone who could actually be quite a good fit for you long term around this time. And we also find that with relationships in general, Aries, you're feeling more like you want to build something for the future, you want to commit. And a lot of you will find as well that Gemini season, the more energy you put into your communication, the more this positively impacts your 7th house of relationships. The more you learn how to communicate better and express yourself, the more your relationships are going to take off. It might be this month that you find the more that you work on listening, but also participating in conversations and putting your thoughts and feelings out there, or the more you take a risk on saying what you want to say, a lot of it's going to impact your relationships in general. So with the Gemini season being all about that communication energy for you, just remember this is going to positively impact your love life. And a lot of you are going to be finding that there is a lot more love in general in the friendships that you decide that you want to be a part of, and the ones you want to invest your energy into. A lot of you could find yourself finding a group that really aligns with who you're becoming and who you are going forward. So that is what I have for you, Aries. I hope you have a beautiful month, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Taurus, and welcome to your June 2021 horoscope and tarot-scope. So Taurus, we have that 2nd square of 3 this year of Saturn squaring Uranus, Uranus being in your 1st house and Saturn being in your career house. You're really being asked in June to reevaluate what your image is to the world, how you're seen, how you identify. That can be through your profession, that can be by your actions, your social standing, the money you make, the car you drive, this type of thing. You're really being asked to figure out for yourself, Taurus, what matters most to you in terms of how you're perceived, and also how much you matter in alignment with that. So whether you feel like your reputation precedes you, whether you feel like your reputation isn't worth it anymore, you would rather be happy than just rich, or whether you would be happy in a role that doesn't have as much prestige because it is taking less of your time. It's something like this. There's a bit of a clash between who you are, who you're becoming even, because Uranus is really re-energizing you, and also how the world sees you. There is a little bit of a clash there, and it might be that you don't feel seen. You don't have to be seen by everybody. It matters how you feel about yourself. And just remember, Taurus, that sometimes having a bit of mystique is a lot more powerful than people knowing your every move. So try not to worry so much about your reputation in terms of who you're becoming. It's important that you have that little bit of mystique going on at the moment, because how you see yourself is so much more important than how the world sees you with this particular square. With Uranus in your first house, figuring out how you see yourself and what you're open to changing, how much you're open to adapting to, is far more important. Although Saturn in Aquarius for you is also saying to you, Taurus, particularly because Saturn in Aquarius is trying the new moon in your financial sector, and it's going to be trining the true node also in your financial sector. You have to understand, Taurus, that in terms of your career goals, your reputation, and your chosen profession, or your long-term goals in terms of your professions, it's important that you do have faith and confidence in yourself, and you don't have that imposter syndrome. Make sure that you're not confusing hating your job with feeling like you're not good enough to do it. Make sure that you feel like you're approaching this with, I believe in myself, so I will. And then whatever comes after that is probably what is most important to you. That solar eclipse in Gemini is going to be in your financial sector, meaning that there's a lot of positive energy here because it is trining Saturn in your career sector, meaning that it's likely that if you're beginning a new job at this time or beginning a new financial endeavor, it's likely that there could be long-term results for this, particularly in terms of your reputation. You might be coming into some money at this time. You might be coming into some new work at this time. You might be growing your profile, for example. People might be seeking you out more. It is square Neptune though. Now, the only way that this impacts you, Taurus, is that you might be dreaming too small, I feel. You might not be feeling like you're good enough, and you might also not have the connections that you want, or some of your connections might not be as genuine as you would like with Neptune there. However, if they are artists, if they are people who are very artistic and creative, it's likely they can benefit you, but they might not have the financial means to do so, or you might not be putting enough value on your connections and your ability to network at this time, or even your friendships. So make sure that you're asking yourself those questions around this time, especially if you've trust issue with friends or connections. Ask yourself where that comes from. Do a little bit of digging and seeing if that's stopping you networking appropriately, or see if you're maybe doing work for a lot of people but not getting paid for it. Just think about it. Do a little reassessment around this time in terms of your relationship between your career, money, and your connections. The full moon in Capricorn coming up at the end of the month is in a very faithful spot in the sky for you, and this is getting positive support from Jupiter in your friendship sector. So this is where your friends might come through for you, the networking that you're doing might come through to you, the work that you're doing, because when we have a positive union between your 9th house and your 11th house, you can often see whenever you start making friends with people who are from different walks of life, or you start seeing different perspectives, you meet interesting people that can open your mind in terms of philosophy, in terms of a way of thinking. You might also find yourself blessed with some new friendships at this time that come from different walks of life. For a lot of you, this could be a graduation as well with the 9th house. You could be ending your university cycle, you could be ending training in some capacity, you could be changing up your belief system. Something at this time could be impacting you in that way. But with Jupiter being in your 11th house of wishes, it's likely that there could be some good news coming to you, Taurus, especially if it involves travel, or if it involves faith, philosophy, or asking the bigger questions. Now, we also have Mars moving into your 4th house this month, which could bring a little bit of friction to your home and family. This could really ramp up the energy in your home sector, meaning that you're more likely to want to absolutely hammer down a wall if you just feel the impulse. If you want to redecorate, you suddenly just start breaking stuff. Just temper yourself a little bit with this, because Mars energy is traditionally also the planet that rules your relationships. So make sure you're not being too aggressive and you're seeing that red rag to the bull, which apparently isn't even true, but you know what I mean. Make sure you're not running into things too quickly and just picking up this hammer to tear stuff down, because Venus is also going to be entering that part of the sky view, your home sector, on the 27th, meaning that you will be a lot more easy to live with, a lot more easy to get along with, and you'll have a better mindset on what it is that you want to change in terms of your environment. Mars can give us the energy to get stuff done, but it's also important to make sure you're doing stuff that you can actually keep going. But with Venus being there, I think that you're really going to have an eye for smoothing anything over that maybe does get a little bit ruffled at that time. The Sun is entering Cancer by the end of the month, and you will find at this time that there's a lot more focus on your communication. And again, this is going to be positively aligning with Neptune in your sector of friendship. So it's likely around this time that you might be finding that your communication is improving in terms of your friendships and connections, but you might also be finding people that are very like-minded, and you might also be finding that you are able to complete or begin projects that are to do with writing, articulating, creating, using the written word, and using your mind. This is a beautiful time to learn something new, especially if it's going to benefit you in the long run. So let's get into your cards, Taurus. There was a lot of mental energy. We had the Page of Swords, the Queen of Swords, and the Eight of Swords. Watch out this month for where you're trapping yourself, emotionally speaking, but also mentally. Watch out for where you are getting too stuck in your head about certain things. And I think as well that with the Page of Swords, the Queen of Swords, and the Eight of Swords, you're really understanding with that Saturn-Uranus square where you are restricting yourself in terms of your thinking, where you're running into roadblocks, where you're running into issues. And remember, I talked about in the introduction that this is mirroring season. You're realizing as well where your mental thoughts and your beliefs are actually being reflected back at you in a way that you don't want. So it's important to really get into figuring out what your mindset is around this time and how that is actually impacting your decisions, but also impacting you in terms of the words that you say, especially with other people. You might have air signs this month, Aquarius, Libra, Gemini, that really challenge your way of thinking. And you might be asked to get out of your own head. Remember that this is a season that is predominantly focused on your finances. With Mercury retrograde in your financial sector, you might be feeling a little bit insecure because this is your sector of security. You might be feeling a little bit wary of your security. You might be feeling a little bit, a bit of instability, I think, is what we're really seeing with these cards. But remember, as I say, with the Magician in the Mirror, that whenever you have those feelings of instability, just remember with Mercury, it's a trick. It's an illusion. It's asking you to reevaluate what it is that matters to you most. And if you're feeling a little bit like Mercury in your second house in retrograde is making you feel insecure and also challenging you financially, get back to what it is that you're seeing and remember that you've created that through your thoughts recently. So get thinking of something new, get thinking of a new wavelength and watch it be reflected back to you, especially around the new moon solar eclipse, because that is happening on the 10th of June, and this is a wonderful time for you to get really clear about what it is that you want to manifest in terms of security, money, and anything that makes you feel solid. So that is what I have for you, Taurus, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi, welcome to your June 2021 horoscope and tarot scope. So Gemini, we have a new moon solar eclipse in your sign on the 10th of June, and this is going to be a beautiful new beginning in your first house of personality, self, and self-image. This is going to be trining Saturn. Now Saturn is in Aquarius, your 9th house of faith, ideology, and your belief systems, your connection to your higher self, this type of thing. And what it is that you choose to believe in terms of faith, religion, that type of thing. And this is meaning that this new beginning for you is likely based on faith to some capacity, how you identify as a person. Maybe you're more hopeful, maybe you're more optimistic going forward, maybe you believe in a new religion, maybe you are changing your religious beliefs, maybe you're changing your outlook on life. Now this is going to be squaring Neptune in your 10th house of career, meaning that you might have a little bit of uncertainty in this new beginning as how this is going to impact the way the world sees you. You're experiencing a lot of positive changes in how you see yourself, but you're not so sure how this is going to impact your career. Some of you could be deciding that you want to leave a job, you want to leave a reputation to move to a completely different country. Some of you could be beginning a new phase as someone who has a different title in life. Maybe you're employed, maybe you become a doctor, maybe you're employed in something that gives you a specific title. Maybe you become a lord or a lady, or maybe you become married, something like this. Your title could be changing. The way that you identify with yourself is changing to some capacity. And there's likely a little bit of uncertainty with this. It might be that you're not so sure how this is going to work in the future, or you're going to feel a little bit of anxiety about how this can work or how this is going to go. There's a bit of unknown to this. But it's important to remember that at this solar eclipse, this new beginning is yours, and how you feel about it, how you feel about yourself matters so much more than how anybody else is perceiving things. Now we have a full moon in Capricorn coming up at the end of the month, and this is going to be sextiling your career zone. And Capricorn is, for you Gemini, your 8th house. Now this is to do with intimacy, this is to do with deeper connections, it's also to do with psychological breakthroughs. So this could actually be quite an emotional full moon for you, but not in a bad way. For a lot of you, this could be a new beginning financially, or this could be the ending of something financially, because with full moons, we talk so much about closing up a phase, but sometimes we close up a phase and something new can come in really quite quickly. With Capricorn, for you in your 8th house, it could be that you come into some money at this time. It could be that you get a pay rise. It could be that you take on more responsibility at work. It could be that you begin a new business endeavor with somebody at this time because of its link to Jupiter. With Saturn being in your 9th house of faith, trining the true node in your 1st house, it is likely to be some form of destiny this month for you, Gemini, where your new identity, your new persona is going to be elevated. It's likely that there's going to be a lot of luck coming your way this month. We have Mars moving into Leo, which is your 3rd house of communication, meaning that you really want to speak your mind, you really want to say things out loud. Neighbours could be a bit more difficult, or siblings could be a bit more difficult at this time, but if you have a project where you're writing or you're articulating yourself or you're teaching in some capacity, this is a wonderful time to put energy into that. We also have the Saturn-Uranus square, which means that there's going to be conflict between your religion, your faith, your belief systems, maybe even your university, your higher education, and your 12th house, which is your subconscious. So for a lot of you, it could be that you're realizing you have picked a particular education or picked a particular religion. Maybe there's a little bit of a crisis of faith has gone on there. Maybe you are realizing that it's been impacted by something in your subconscious. Maybe you realize you've had a fear of religion. Maybe you've realized you have a fear of spirituality, or you've realized that you have generated a belief system for yourself that isn't in alignment with the new you, and all of this is being challenged at this time. With Saturn being in your 9th house and Uranus being in your 12th house, Uranus kind of prevails here. So the more open-minded you are spiritually, and also to your subconscious and healing yourself, because anything in the 12th house, which so many signs are actually experiencing this month in different ways, anything in your 12th house is asking you to really break free of where you have been enslaved by subconscious patterns, or the brain patterns that you've built up through experiences that just aren't working for you and aren't getting you what you want. Venus also moves into Cancer, your 2nd house, meaning that your finances are likely to get a lot better this month, Gemini. Venus in your 2nd house is also always a very good time financially to get your finances in check. Venus rules finance, so whenever it's in your 2nd house, you can be more graceful with your finances. It means you probably want to buy more things, but it's also a time where you can be more patient with your money and really get your finances in order. So take advantage of this energy, because you did have the Ace of Pentacles come up, which means that money situations can improve. There can be a new job in the horizon. Maybe with that full moon in Capricorn, there can be a new way of making money, a new way of investing money. For a lot of you, this might involve going back to the past in some way. Mercury is retrograde in your sign. With the 6 of Cups and the 8 of Cups, you might hear from people that you haven't heard from in a long time. You might be the one reaching out to people that you've not heard from in a long time. A lot of you might be going home for some reason with this particular energy, which is very interesting. You might be visiting home, you might be visiting family, you might be going backwards in some capacity, and this is likely to do with the fact that Mercury is retrograde in your sign, meaning that you're feeling reflective. You really want to revisit the past in some capacity. You really want to re-emerge yourself in what it is that has changed you or developed you as a person. And with the angel of balance, it's likely that this is going to be very healing for you. Some of you could be taking a short trip. Some of you could be moving house. Some of you could be saving for a house in the future, actually, with the Ace of Pentacles being here. But for many of you, you want to get your work life and your home life in balance at this time too, Gemini. And this can be because there is a lot of revisiting the past energy too in your career sector, with Neptune and Jupiter both in Pisces in retrograde in your 10th house. Because of the retrograde energy, you're maybe realizing you've put so much energy into career and reputation, or you're putting so much energy into work, and a lot of you are realizing you need to balance that out by relaxing at home or reconnecting with family. So that is what I have for you, Gemini. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Cancer, and welcome to your June 2021 horoscope and tarot. So Cancer, the good news is that Venus, the planet of love, harmony, money, all things beauty, is moving into your sign, and this is going to harmonize with Jupiter in Pisces. Now, Jupiter in Pisces is very beneficial for you because it is ruling your travel, your education, your higher education, your expansive mindset. And I always find that Jupiter in the 9th house brings a lot of opportunities to travel, a lot of opportunities to open the mind and expand that area of the sky for you. And because it's going to be contacting your first house, it's likely that you're going to be feeling very open-minded, very joyous, and very excited about life. Now, Neptune and Jupiter are both in Pisces, and they're going to be retrograding by the end of the month. And this just turns the energy inward. You get to really think about what it is that you want in terms of seeing the world as an adventure, seeing the world as your playground, the things that you want to do, the things that you want to try, the things that you want to experience. A lot of you are maybe experiencing some disillusionment if you have moved abroad or you've been trying to move abroad. There could have been some disillusionment there, and it's maybe asking you to revisit why you're doing it. Oftentimes whenever something astrological happens that we don't quite like, or we wanted, we don't align with it, sometimes it's just re-inviting you to ask why. And with Pisces energy, especially with Neptune, usually there's a bit of the subconscious going on there, but also Jupiter, believe it or not. Jupiter traditionally ruled Pisces, the 12th house is subconscious. So you're really being asked, Mercury retrograde is getting me, you're really being asked to understand the why behind the adventures you take or the things that you're learning, Cancer, is what I'm trying to say. Now, we do have a lot of subconscious energy going on for you in general. Now, the reason for this is because we have a new moon solar eclipse, and that is happening in your 12th house of healing. We also have Mercury retrograde in your 12th house of healing. Now, these energies are interesting because when you have the 12th house in play like this, especially being quite important, it's being quite pronounced this month for you. The 12th house is actually so much to do with the inner work that we do. A lot of people fear the 12th house because they associate it with things in traditional astrology like imprisonment and addictions and hidden enemies. But when they say hidden enemies, a lot of the time people interpret that as the person in your social circle who is secretly sabotaging you, and this can exist for sure. Sometimes people can simply just not really wish you well or be jealous or be envious and things like that. This can be true, but for the most part, Cancer, this is your inner world. This is where you sabotage yourself. Now, this is going to be trining Saturn, meaning that if you have had a lot of trouble with intimate relationships, you've had a lot of trouble with financial endeavors, you've had a lot of trouble with your psychology, your mental health, this new moon can be a beautiful new beginning for you, especially if you really commit to something that works for you in terms of healing. Especially if you've lost somebody before. Now, grief can manifest in different experiences. It can actually be something you experience through the breakdown of a marriage or a significant relationship. A lot of the time it can be loss due to death, but that's not to say that this is going to happen, by the way. This is the stuff that could be coming up for you around this solar eclipse. You could be committing to healing something through therapy, through grief counselling, through Reiki healing, anything like that, to really work through the stuff that's built up within you. With this solar eclipse being in Gemini in your 12th house, it is going to be in tricky alignment with Neptune, and Neptune is in your 9th house. So it is important, Cancer, as I said, to reflect on why you travel. Some of you might have experienced running away from situations or constantly relocating so that you can't deal with things, or maybe you have chosen a particular area of study to understand your psychology, something like this. But this is a new beginning for you that can really benefit you, because the work that you do in the 12th house It benefits you so much in your new beginnings and your new endeavors. We also have a full moon in Capricorn coming up, your 7th house of relationships, and this is going to be harmonizing with your 9th house. So for a lot of you, with the full moon in your 7th house of marriage, some of you could be getting engaged, some of you could be planning a wedding abroad in particular, some of you could be marrying someone very wise, very educated. Your partner could be graduating at this time, your partner could be taking on a new study, or you could be falling in love with someone or meeting somebody who's from a different walk of life, this type of thing. That sort of thing is very beneficial for you, especially because we have Venus in Cancer most of this month, meaning that you're the belle of the ball in terms of attractiveness, beauty and magnetism. Now the Saturn-Uranus square between your 8th house and Taurus energy, which is your 11th house. Be mindful of what it is that you're trying to manifest, what it is that you're trying to achieve, what it is that your long-term aspirations are. You might have to reevaluate those with Uranus being there. You could suddenly change your mind on some goals and realize that it is more to do with your partnership, or it's more to do with, again, your psychology. With Saturn in Aquarius, it's breaking down what your rules have been in terms of what intimate relationships should be, what joint connections should be, what finances should be. It's breaking down what you have learned so far in those areas. Other things we have for you is Mars is moving into your 2nd house after its lengthy stay in your sign. And Mars in your 2nd house means that you really are driven to make money. Just make sure that you're looking after yourself. This can also really ramp up your confidence, or it can make you really determined to change the things you don't like. Just remember with Mars there that if you go too quickly, sometimes you can make mistakes. And Mercury is retrograde in your 12th house, meaning that a lot of reflection going on is going to dampen your endeavors if you're not doing the inner work as well. So make sure that you are reflecting and make sure that you're letting the emotions out as they come up, because it's likely with Mercury retrograde in the 12th house. I experienced this back in February. It can hit you quite hard, so just bear that in mind. For you, tarot wise, we had the storm warning card, meaning that some emotions could really be coming up for you at this time, and it's important to just release them because they're stored. You know, don't just I mean, you're a water sign, you're typically good at emotions, but don't just reject it. Your body stores trauma, and sometimes this comes up with 12th house transits. So with the thinking woman, a lot of you are really putting a lot of thought and assessment into anything that happens at this time. It's likely that you will overthink many things, but it's also equally as true that what you discover can be really beneficial to you in the long run. Figuring out the patterns, figuring out the reasoning behind certain emotional episodes in your life is something that could really benefit you, especially with the Temperance card and the 9 of Pentacles. Some of you could be dealing with a Sagittarius, but I think a lot of you are going to be healing your self-confidence, your self-worth, how you see yourself, how you measure your worth in particular, how you value yourself and the skills that you have. A lot of you could be figuring out, again with Mars going into Leo and then Venus later going into Leo, a lot of you could really be balancing your checkbook, figuring out your finances and figuring out where you're spending too much money on certain things, but also really seeing your worth and really seeing your value in your situations. And this is going to help you overall, Cancer, especially as we're leading up to your season and it's birthday season. So happy birthday to all the Cancers who are celebrating in June. Hi Leo, welcome to your June 2021 horoscope and tarot reading. So Leo, we have Mars and Venus both moving into your sign this month. Mars moving into your sign is earlier on in the month. It is on the 11th of June, and Venus doesn't move into your sign until the 27th. So you will feel the loving energy of Venus more towards the July time. But Mars moving into your sign is going to give you a lot of energy. It's going to give you a lot of momentum. Sometimes with Mars in our own sign, we can get very energetic very quickly. It's likely around the 11th you notice the surge of energy the most. But Mars is also an energy that can make us overdo it. Sometimes we can think we have more energy than we actually do. And for you, it's happening in your 1st house, meaning that you really want to put a lot of energy into your identity, into your own ego. And this can be a time when you just start aggressively buying new clothes or new cosmetics, or you start deciding you want to get work done, or you want to assert yourself more. It can be really good for your confidence. Just bear in mind that with Mars being in Leo, sometimes that energy moves into other people too. So there can be a little bit of drama going on with other people when Mars is in your sign. But this isn't to say that you shouldn't enjoy it. I think you will enjoy Venus being in your sign more, but Mars is giving you the energy that you need to overcome challenges that you've been experiencing, particularly because we have the Saturn-Uranus square occurring this month too. It's occurring on the 14th of June. And that Saturn-Uranus square is impacting you, Leo, in terms of your partnerships, your contracts, and your career, your reputation, and sometimes your relationship with men, and sometimes your relationship with the father. So there has been tension in those areas with these squares, and you will feel that tension in June as well. There could be a lack of balance between your career and your partner. There could be external factors keeping you away from your partner. You and your partner might have different opinions about the future, or if you're not in a relationship, you might be feeling really challenged, like your career has taken over your life and you don't have time for a partnership, or you don't see how you could feasibly balance the two. Or it might be that you realize you've placed one on a pedestal in sacrifice of the other, and you need to find a way to balance them out at this time, Leo, or you're questioning what it is that you need to do that is going to balance them out for you. Now we have Venus take over from Mars in your 12th house of the subconscious mind and where you need to heal. Now Venus going through the 12th house is interesting because if you're in a relationship that's not working, or a situationship, sometimes when Venus moves into your 12th house, it can exit that person out. Sometimes for a lot of you, you can find with Venus going into the 12th house that you are suddenly really missing an ex, or you're suddenly really missing a relationship, or you're suddenly really worried about your relationship, or you feel like these psychological itches sort of start coming up for you, where you feel very threatened, or you have a fear of abandonment coming up when Venus is in the 12th house. Venus is a benefic, so this is the moment to heal that energy. It's not a moment to hurt you, but when Venus goes into your 12th house, sometimes it's a moment where we say, do you know what, I've experienced these patterns for such a long time, I need to work through them. We also have that new moon solar eclipse, Leo, happening in your 11th house. Now this is the big news because Mercury's retrograde there too, but your 11th house is really activated. And with this new moon solar eclipse happening there, this could be a new beginning for you in terms of your social connections. You could meet very exciting people. You could be part of a really exciting group. This is trine Saturn in your partnership sector, meaning that for some of you, Leo, you might find love with a friend. You might find love with someone that you are networking, socializing with. Your friends might set you up with somebody. Or it might be that your social connections benefit your marriage in some capacity. This could be a 6-month phase where you literally get married, and it's a very social affair, which is strange considering the global circumstances of the world, but it can happen. We do have this solar eclipse squaring Neptune though in Pisces, and this is your 8th house of psychological breakthroughs and emotional crisis, but also intimacy. It's funny how they put that in the same house, isn't it? So this square to Neptune is actually asking you as well that in terms of your partnerships, in terms of your friendships, how much do you actually fear getting close to somebody, and how does that manifest whenever that's starting to occur? Maybe that's somewhere that you need to work on through networking, maybe through asking your friends for advice. We have a full moon in Capricorn happening for you, Leo, in your 6th house of work, health. Now this is going to be sextiling Jupiter again in your Pisces sector, which is emotional breakthroughs, psychological breakthroughs. You will find that the more you pay attention to your emotional well-being, your mental health, finding a routine that really works for you, maybe meditating at a certain time every day, maybe eating a different diet, maybe focusing on drinking more water, something like this, you will find the more you commit to your practice with this full moon, the more benefits that you're going to see in terms of your work life, your health life, that type of thing, and also in terms of your emotional well-being, your relationships as well, because we do have Saturn in your relationship sector, the ruler of this full moon, trining the true node in Gemini, which is your wish fulfillment sector. So for a lot of you, there could be a fated connection on the horizon if you're single, or your relationship might take a new direction. Sometimes we actually see with square energy that push, that friction moves us on further than we would with a trine. So that's something to look forward to, Leo. Don't write off the Saturn-Uranus squares as being something that's going to negatively impact you just because it's a square. We often see with square energy that people that have them, or people that experience them, usually have a breakthrough that works out for them better in the long run. So your cards had an interesting story to tell. 5 of Wands and the Tower. Whew. There could have been a need for you to really break something down to rebuild it. There could have been something you've been fighting or something you've been denying for a very long time. With the financial constraints card, it could have been to do with your finances. It could have been to do with seeing your self-worth, seeing your value. But a lot of you are going to stop fighting the changes that are happening with these eclipses and just decide that you want to rebuild in something. And the more that you accept that something in your life, Leo, just didn't seem to work out the way that you wanted it to. I feel like with the Tower card, a lot of you had a very nasty shock in the last couple of months, or a lot of you realized you weren't getting anywhere because you were building on that same foundation. You're just tearing down some of this energy. You're just tearing down these beliefs or these feelings that you've been holding on to make way for something that really allows you to shine. A lot of you with the Star and the Six of Wands have fame on the horizon, you have fortune on the horizon, you're going to be recognized, and this can be to do with Uranus being in your 10th house. It is giving you that sparkle, that recognition. People are seeing you as a bit of a genius in your line of work. In particular, Uranus is also very social, meaning that connections are likely to want to book you, to see you, that type of thing. With the Star and the Six of Wands, a lot of you are headed towards success, and it's because you're finally going to stop fighting something that you've been fighting for a long time. That's happening for a lot of the fixed signs, I have to say. So that is what I have for you, Leo, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Virgo, welcome to your June 2021 horoscope and taroscope. So Virgo, Gemini season for you is so much to do with your career, your reputation, your success, and your long-term goals. So Virgo, for you, there is a solar eclipse happening there. Your ruler Mercury is also retrograde there, meaning that you are really reconsidering what it is that would make you a success and what it is that you want for yourself in the long term professionally. There's likely to be a new beginning coming for you in terms of your goals, in terms of your career. For a lot of you, you could be starting a new job. For a lot of you, you could be starting to look for a new job. You could be committing to a new career path. A lot of you could have a very exciting opportunity, especially coming up in your cards, I have to say, in terms of your success, your goals, and your future career. The new moon solar eclipse is going to be trining Saturn. Now Saturn is in Aquarius, which is to do with your work, your routine, your daily habits, your health as well. So it's likely that if you're beginning a new career at this time, the more work you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. The more you have a routine going on where you dedicate a certain amount of time in a day to small sections of your day to certain practices, they all add up in the long term, and also the work that you have been doing is going to be coming to fruition quite soon. There is a square here with Neptune in your partnership sector, so a lot of you could be doubting whether or not you can have a successful relationship and a career, or it could be that your partnership is giving you some reason to doubt your career or your status or your reputation, or it might be that if you're having a work function or a networking event, just don't bring your partner because they might get drunk and spoil it. That could be Neptune. That's a joke, leave them alone. But just make sure that you're not merging your career and your partnership too much, but also maintaining a healthy balance, maybe not letting them, overlap one another is what's sort of coming up with this new moon. But it's more than likely a successful new beginning in terms of your career. Maybe your partnership doesn't see the bigger picture long term, but you do. And this is something that you're going to be sticking with for a while. You also have a full moon in your sector of love and romance, and this is sextiling your partnership sector. So in terms of your relationships, Virgo, you're going to be seeing beautiful energy around the end of the month, even if there's a little bit of confusion at the start. Maybe you just don't see eye to eye on something, or maybe they're kind of going through a tricky phase. But in terms of your relationships, or even attracting a partner, with this full moon in Capricorn sextiling Jupiter in your partnership sector, you could have a love at first sight energy coming around this full moon, or it could be that your relationships become more committed. Could be that you get engaged, could be that you're expecting a child, it could be that you are going to be finding ways to be more creative in a relationship or have more fun in a relationship. Saturn at this time is in your 6th house of work and health, and it's going to be trining the true node in your career as well. Meaning that there's a lot of destiny energy in terms of your work relationships, in terms of your connections with work, in terms of your connections and social status. There is likely going to be a big part of destiny for you this month, especially because I have to just jump into your cards. The Wheel of Fortune came up as well, and so did Justice, meaning that there is going to be some sort of karmic energy going on and a fated new beginning for you that I think is going to be quite lucky, Virgo, especially in the career front. We also have the Saturn in your 6th house square Uranus in Taurus. Now this is in your 9th house, which is to do with travel, it's to do with higher education, it's to do with optimism and our belief system. whenever we have something in our 9th house and it is clashing with your 6th house. So in terms of your routine, Virgo, some of you could be finding it quite hard to study. You could be finding it quite hard to learn new things. You could be finding that you're just not as interested in things you used to be as interested in. You're maybe not wanting to travel as much. You're maybe just finding you have a bit of brain fog this month. But with Saturn being in your 6th house clashing with Uranus in your 9th house, you have to challenge yourself to take a bigger picture, to see a bigger picture, to take a more broad approach to life, to feel the adventurous energy anyway, because Uranus is sort of prevailing here. It's about being excited to travel, being excited to learn new things, feeling like you can learn new things at any age. It is going to be in conflict, I have to say, with your day-to-day routine, meaning that you're not sure you've time for this or space for this, that it's important to make space for it all the same. Virgo, we do have the 9th house moving into your 12th house, and we do have the 9th house, we do have Mars moving into your 12th house, and this can be a bit aggressive in terms of your subconscious. You could be feeling quite irritated by certain things. You could be finding a lot of inner anger is coming up to the surface. This is likely not to do with what's happening right in that moment, but something that's happened a long time ago. See, we have the 7 of Wands here. So just make sure that you're understanding before you react that this might not actually be the thing that's bothering you, and it might be worth doing a little bit of digging whenever Mars is in the 12th house, because if you choose to actively do a little bit of digging and a little bit of pause, meditate, reflect before bursting into anger, you can make a lot of headway. But if you let Mars do it, you can make a lot of destructive energy happen. Venus is moving into this sector for you towards the end of the month as well, meaning that in terms of relationships, you might hear from people from the past too. So that is something that's coming up for you. So your cards, Virgo, contract and justice. A lot of you might actually be signing a legal contract this month. Some of you could be getting married, engaged, getting a new job, signing new contracts. It seems to be something that is a big part to do with your destiny. A lot of you could be dealing with Libra people at this time. You could also be dealing with Scorpio, Leo, Taurus, or Aquarius energy. But there is something to do with karma and change here for you, Virgo. Something to do with fated change. Mercury retrograde is really getting to me in this video. Something that is to do with fated change that is going to be beneficial for you, Virgo. Just make sure you don't start any fights. That's all I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Libra, welcome to your June 2021 horoscope and tarot. So Libra, we have a lot of Gemini energy for you this month, and this is your 9th house. Now the 9th house is to do with higher education, it's to do with foreign travel, foreign affairs, your higher self, your learning and your personal philosophy or religious belief system in life. It's basically where we ask why. We find the reasoning, the higher perspective behind patterns or problems or crises. So for you, this is a solar eclipse new moon beginning in the sector of the sky for you, and this is going to be trining Saturn in a very creative, very loving, very pleasurable space for you. When Saturn's there, sometimes it can be that you feel more serious about these type of endeavors. You're more serious about your art, your relationships, romantically speaking, not necessarily the committed ones, but where you're dating or your relationship with your art or your children, what you have created for yourself in this lifetime. And this new beginning for you is asking you to take on new faith, new beliefs, new perspectives and new adventures for yourself, Libra. You might be relocating, you might be traveling, you might be learning something new, beginning a new course of study at this time. Anything that you're doing in those areas is really going to work for you long term, especially work for your children or for your art, your creativity, or your romantic life. The things that you love to do. The 5th house is a lot to do with love. So there's beautiful new beginnings happening for you, Libra, in terms of the adventures you're going to take in this lifetime. So it's actually quite an exciting place to have a new moon solar eclipse. Now we have a full moon in Capricorn, which is happening for you at the end of the month while the sun is in your sector of career. We also have Venus in your sector of career, meaning that people in your workspace are going to see you really well. You're going to come across really well. And that actually came up in your cards because we had the man holding a coin. If you're looking to attract new career opportunities, this is a time where you'll really shine because you're going to look wonderful, look graceful doing it. You're going to find that people just agree with you more, especially authority figures. And you could also find with the full moon in Capricorn, as it's sextiling Pisces energy, which is for you to do with your 8th house of intimacy. You could be feeling a lot closer to people in your life around this time too, especially your family. You could be finding that you're having some sort of psychological breakthrough where you understand your family. Maybe you have a different perspective on your past. Maybe you have a different perspective on your relationships. Maybe you've overcome something by healing and working through it, or you're leaving something behind in terms of family. Anything to do with this, as long as it is healing for you, Libra, seems to be quite beneficial at this time, especially because Saturn around that full moon, Saturn rules the full moon in Capricorn. Saturn in your pleasurable, happy sector is going to be trining the true node in your adventurous sector, meaning that I think for a lot of you, you're kind of just being the bigger person in your life. You're seeing the higher perspective. You're understanding why something had to happen or what has happened so far as a pattern. You're seeing the higher perspective and you're ready for a new adventure. I just think that's something coming up with you, Libra. You're so ready for a new adventure this month. Now, we do have Jupiter and Neptune retrograding in your 8th house. So for a lot of you, with the 5 of Swords and the 9 of Swords, one of the things that's coming up for you is that a lot of you could be dealing with mental health issues or mental health anguish or emotional issues, or just feeling uncertain or afraid of certain, it's just what's going on in your head might not necessarily feel so nice as Jupiter and Neptune begin to retrograde. We always feel the energy shift most intensely when they do, and according to my notes, Jupiter's retrograde on the 20th, Neptune on the 25th. So it might be around that time, especially around the time of the full moon, you could feel quite emotionally challenged. You could be finding that you're feeling more anxious, and this is all a symptom of something from the past that could possibly, for some of you, be the feeling of betrayal. I don't know if you've ever looked up the emotional codes, but it's where you trust your body, you ask your body a question, you notice where you have pain in your body, you look up what it correlates to, and you find a way to release it by doing these motions. So it might be around this full moon that you want to release some feeling of pain from the past. It could be to do with betrayal, or it could actually be to do with war or battle. Whatever that means for you. It could have been something that you've experienced yourself. Somebody else's battles really impacted you. But with the Strength card, Mars is going to move into Leo, and so is Venus, and you're really going to benefit from this energy because you're going to be feeling more confident in going after your long-term goals. Also pursuing friendships and also networking is something you're going to get really good at, particularly going into July. Be careful about being too aggressive or too forward with making connections, because Mars there can sometimes just cause friction wherever it is, but because it's in your 11th house, you're more determined to go after your wishes and your dreams, and you have the strength to do so. So that is what I have for you, Libra, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Scorpio, and welcome to your June 2021 Astrology and Tarot Scope. Scorpio, this is Gemini season, and for you that is your 8th house. Now the 8th house is to do with psychological breakthroughs, it is to do with letting go, it's to do with transformation, and it is to do with our intimate relationships and shared resources. So with this particular season, Scorpio, it is a time for you to herald in a new beginning in your most intimate relationships, but also a breakthrough moment. When we have a solar eclipse here in your 8th house, this is a new beginning for you, likely financially. Likely to do with where your resources go. And for a lot of you, this is to do with your resources in link with a partnership. If you're in an intimate relationship, this might be a period where you really merge your finances, your resources, or just merge emotionally. For a lot of Scorpios, because of this trine to Saturn, Saturn being in your 4th house of the past, of home and family, a lot of you could be getting a home with a partner. A lot of you could be joining financially with a partner to get a home, or a lot of you could be merging closer to somebody in an intimate way because you have committed to working through your past, or working on your attachment style. Something like 4th house I would regard as attachment style, because it's to do with the way that you were raised and nurtured as a child. So you might be noticing amazing new beginnings in these areas because of Saturn's commitment there to healing your past. Because when Saturn's going through a water sign house for you, as it is with your 4th house, you can often find that Saturn asks us to turn the energy inward on our past, on our subconscious, on our relationships. That type of energy for you, Scorpio. So there's a lot of water house energy surrounding this month for you. Now, the new moon solar eclipse is squaring off Neptune in your 5th house, which is to do with artistic endeavors, love and romance. but we also have a full moon in Capricorn that is going to be sextiling Jupiter in this area. You're still having a lot of blessings there. It's just that there might be a little bit of confusion. There might be a little bit of fogginess as to the fun side of your life because you're committing to more serious endeavors. You know, 8th house energy and then Saturn involved is quite serious. So for a lot of Scorpios, you're really looking to take your relationships super seriously. And with Neptune squaring off it, you're just kind of wondering, with all this seriousness, am I having fun? You know, it's like that Nickelback song that is written by a Scorpio, How You Remind Me, where he says, are we having fun yet? So do remind yourself this month, Scorpio, that it's not all serious all of the time. But speaking of serious, that Saturn in Aquarius square Uranus in your partnership energy means that there could be a little bit of friction in terms of your dynamics, because we do have your partnership sector and your home sector squared off. So you might be dealing with issues surrounding a partnership in the home, or there might be some things to iron out. With Uranus in Taurus being the energy that is sort of prevailing with these Saturn-Uranus squares, Uranus is very innovative. Be open-minded with your relationships, be open to compromising, to listening to somebody else, and considering the fact that, Scorpio, you might still have a little bit of stuff from the past keeping you stuck or keeping you stubborn, and it's important to be open-minded to what other people, especially your relationships, are telling you. That is just that. We have Mars going into Leo, which is your 10th house of prestige, success and career. And for a lot of you, Scorpio, you're going to be so determined to get yourself to the top of whatever it is that you're doing. If you don't have a goal, this is going to frustrate you a lot. So even if you can't think for yourself what your huge long-term goals are, commit to something small and just smash it, Scorpio, because you need that outlet for energy. Venus is going to be there by the end of the month, which is a really beautiful energy in your career as well. Makes you very magnetic, very charismatic. People in power are drawn to you. You might be mingling with some VIPs at this time as well, and more likely to be seen and recognized on a professional level. We do have a full moon in Capricorn, which is your 3rd house of communication at the end of the month. So if you're working on a writing project, if you're working on something that you're learning, this is a wonderful time to culminate that energy. You might have some kind of fruition here in terms of what you've been learning or how you've been expressing yourself, or in terms of communication. There might be a conversation comes up for you around this full moon, Scorpio, that really benefits your romantic life. It could be a heart to heart. It could be a really important conversation that shows you the directionship, okay, Mercury retrograde, the direction of your relationship. Can we make directionship a word? We'll see. Let me know in the comments. So Scorpio, that is your astrology for the month. Also bear in mind that Jupiter and Neptune are going to be retrograding in your 5th house of love and romance. This typically takes off your rose tinted glasses as much. You're more likely to just enjoy yourself for what it is. So this is a moment for you to really consider what it is that makes you happy, how you have fun, and where you're not kind of kidding yourself. So that could be for the Scorpios that are in sort of situationships where you don't really know if the person's right for you or not. You might have more awareness of that, but for most Scorpios, Jupiter and Neptune retrograde in Pisces, it's just going to intensify the energy of wanting to be playful, wanting to be creative, and wanting to just enjoy life. So by the end of the month, especially as we get into Cancer season, which is really playful for you, you're going to be experiencing more enjoyment in life, more satisfaction, maybe even planning a trip, maybe planning a vacation, maybe planning to learn something or experience something new, Scorpio. So let's get into your cards. Interestingly, for a lot of you, with the Ace of Wands, the Chariot, and the Ace of Cups, with so much energy impacting your 4th house because Saturn's there, some of you with the Ace of Wands and the Ace of Cups could be conceiving a child or working towards having a child. For a lot of you, this could be a new relationship with the Ace of Wands and the Ace of Cups coming up. So some of you could be manifesting a new relationship with that 8th house new moon. But for a lot of you, I see you passionately going after what you want. So Ace of Cups, Ace of Wands, passionately pursuing the things that really make you excited, make you emotional, and make you jump with joy, brim with joy, just feeling really good about it. But with the Chariot card, this is that Mars and Leo energy where you're really going after what you want. And it's also saying that Cancer season is going to be marked in very important new beginnings for you, Scorpio, where you're going to feel, the key word is passionate. This month for you is so passionate. The 8th house itself is passionate. It's your kind of passion, your kind of depth, and you just want to merge and feel intense and feel things intensely and have these breakthroughs and these phoenix moments. and just enjoy your own energy and understand that your intensity is not a bad thing. For a lot of Scorpios, it just is who you are, and there's people that understand that and there's people that don't. Stick with the people that understand it. For a lot of you as well, with strategy and patience, a lot of you are now understanding that you're really willing, with these fixed squares going on this year, you're willing to go the long haul. And it's very important to you, Scorpio, that you do have a long-term plan or long-term trajectory. With the patience card and the strategy card, while Mercury is in retrograde in Gemini, plan as much as you can rather than take direct action. But also for a lot of you, if you're trying to manifest something with that full moon in Capricorn, journal, write script. Your words are spells around this time, Scorpio. And I think around the Capricorn full moon, because it's in your third house, something you've been very patient for that's kind of been stuck, with the Chariot card and the Ace of Wands as well. Something's going to come unstuck. Something's going to start moving forward. So that's what I have for you, Scorpio. I'll talk to you soon. Hi Sagittarius, welcome to your June 2021 horoscope and tarot-scope. So Sagittarius, we have a beautiful solar eclipse, a new moon in your partnership sector. We also have Mercury retrograde there. So basically what this means for you is that there is a new beginning in your partnership life. So this can be romantic partnerships. This can also be business partnerships. This can be one-on-one client relationships. These are getting a big boost from this solar eclipse. There's a sense of fate around this. It could be that around this eclipse you meet the love of your life. You meet the person you're going to marry. You get engaged. It could be that you take your relationship to the next level. It could be that you actually let go of a relationship that has been holding you back from moving forward. And this is all because Mercury is in retrograde, meaning that your past relationships may return. Your past business or romantic or past clients may return at this point. You might find that you have a lot of clients suddenly hitting you up after not being on the radar for quite a long time. But basically Sagittarius, especially even, I was so fascinated by your cards. You got the Caring Connections card, and this is so in tune with the new moon solar eclipse in your partnership sector. So if you're looking for love and romance and you haven't found it yet, very strong chance, especially for Sagittarius rising, that this could be around the corner for you. But there could also be reconciliation for some of you as well. I have to put that out there because of Mercury retrograde. Don't shoot the messenger if you really don't want to hear that. Bear in mind, you have your own choices with these things. So there is a full moon in Capricorn, which is your financial sector, getting a boost from your ruler Jupiter in your fourth house. If you're looking to get money for a home, to rent, or to buy, or to redecorate, or something like this, you're more likely than not going to manifest it around this full moon, or you're going to find ways to bring that money towards you. This can really boost your finances when there's a full moon in your money sector. You can find that there's money comes back to you from something that could be associated with family or the home. Maybe you've lent someone money, or maybe you are waiting for a repayment on something. It's likely around this full moon that you could have money coming towards you. Now the Saturn-Uranus square for you, Sagittarius, is very to do with Uranus in your work sector, your health sector, your physical body. There's a lot of changes going on there. There's a lot of new energy trying to be ushered in, and it's coming into a bit of a standstill with Saturn restricting your sector of communication. It's likely, I have to say, for a lot of you, you would be surprised how many people actually store trauma or store past hurt in their bodies. Your body remembers everything, and you might think you've dealt with something by putting it to the back of your mind, but this can manifest as physical symptoms. I would ask you to keep an open mind about Reiki healing or emotional freedom technique, or reading the emotional codes of your body, figuring out where there is a feeling of pain or tension in your body, and looking up what the emotional correspondence is. With Saturn in your third house, sometimes I've seen this manifest for people as a restriction on you being able to speak your mind, to speak what you're feeling. It can feel like you choose your words very carefully, or you have maybe had bad experiences. Sagittarius is quite a blunt and honest sign, but maybe this is dulling your ability to put yourself out there or to say what's on your mind because you've had bad experiences with that, Sagittarius. So around this square, just listen to your body, what it's telling you, because you might not be able to vocalize exactly what you're feeling, but your body might need you to release it somehow. And usually with releasing trapped emotions in the body, you look to emotional freedom technique or Reiki or something. For a lot of you, it could be throat chakra related, because the third house is to do with the throat chakra in many ways. So Sagittarius, we also have the 8 of Pentacles and the 7 of Pentacles. which is the where you're working towards something, where you're working towards for a lot of you, projects or apprenticeships with this type of energy. It's actually a really interesting pair of cards given the astrology, I have to say, because we have Mars and Venus both moving into your 9th house, which is Leo. And for a lot of you, that symbolizes that you might be working on learning something new, a new skill set. You could be taking on an apprentice if you're employed. You could be training somebody, and this could be something significant for you. You could be training somebody, or you could be working on studying something, or you're wanting to take a new course, maybe with that eclipse in Gemini. It is going to be in conflict with Neptune in your sector of the past. So it might be that you're realizing you've really limited yourself in terms of your education, or in terms of what you want to do, or you feel like you can't do something. This is saying to you that you can. You just have to take it in small steps, Sagittarius. That's something to bear in mind. You might have slow and steady movements of progression. And we also have a lot of the energy moving into Cancer season. Venus is in Cancer for most of the month, then it will move into your 9th house. But when Venus is in the 8th house, you might have to address or heal or work on some issues surrounding jealousy or emotional intensity in relationships. It could be that you have some fears when Venus is going through there, but Venus is the benefic, and you've had Mars aggressively charging through there for the last couple of months. So it's more than likely that Venus is going to soothe any of these issues, or Venus is going to teach you enough self-love in these issues, and to love your own your own shadow side, the parts of yourself that you feel like you should have evolved from, but that are just part of your shadow that you carry with you. So having patience and love and grace with yourself, and the parts of your nature that you're not so proud of, and also forgiving yourself for past mistakes is something that I would see in the 8th house with Venus as well. Forgiving yourself for making bad decisions, or making decisions that you feel like you should have known better. A lot of the time it's not about dodging responsibility, but a lot of the time things happen for a reason. So that's something for you, Sagittarius. So that is what I have for you. Also bear in mind, with Jupiter and Neptune retrograding in the 4th house, Sagittarius, it is a beautiful time to just reflect on the past a little bit, past decisions, past family relationships, your intimate relationships. Just have a reflection and see how you're feeling about all these things. With this full moon in Capricorn coming up, in terms of your confidence, it's important to note that a lot of that was formed early on in life. So if there's something that comes to the fore in terms of a feeling, it might be a good time to sit with it, especially if it is to do with your past, and sort of figure out how this is maybe affecting you in making money, or asking for the money you deserve, or pursuing something with better financial backing towards it, with better financial opportunities. And this is some way linked to your past or your family. So these are things to bear in mind this month, Sagittarius. I hope you have a beautiful June, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Capricorn, welcome to your June 2021 astrology and tarot. So Capricorn, we have a lot of focus going on this month on your health, your well-being, both emotional and physical. And we also have a lot of emphasis on your work, your day-to-day work, the habits that you have. Now, this is a turning point there. There could be a new opportunity for work. There could be a new opportunity for health, a new beginning in these areas. And these are actually really supported by your ruler Saturn, which is currently in your 2nd house of income and resources. So for a lot of you, it could be that you're committing to working on your self-confidence at this time in the workplace. For a lot of you, it could be that you're working towards getting a raise, or you're working towards learning new skills that will help you get a raise or work better for your money in the long term. The problem with this is that it's squared with Neptune, and Neptune is in your 3rd house of communication, meaning that you might not have all the facts that you need, or you might have neighbors or siblings kind of saying stuff to you that isn't necessarily true or in your favor, or they could be discrediting you ever so slightly, or they might not have all the information themselves, Capricorn. But for a lot of you, this new moon solar eclipse is going to be a beautiful new beginning for you in terms of looking after your well-being, making good decisions in your day-to-day, your diet, your wellness, your sports, your athletics, your workouts, all these different things that add up to big long-term changes. But oftentimes when we have the true node in the 6th house, this can indicate a change in career in general, a change in the work that you do, changing jobs, moving into a new field, that sort of thing. But also it can get you more engaged with fitness and health. We have a full moon in your sign this month, Capricorn, and this is such a closing out of a chapter. In fact, I've kept your tarot very simple for you this month, because this full moon is a beautiful one, and it's in support with Jupiter in Pisces, your sector of communication, siblings, neighbours, and all things factual. So with this full moon being in your first house, this is a time for you to really look back at how far you've come, to also assess your relationships with your neighbours, your siblings, and your communication style in general, because Jupiter is bringing a lot of benefits to that area for you. Jupiter is really saying, I want to light up this sector, I want to expand this sector. If you've any issues in communication with siblings or neighbours, or just in general, your communication style isn't working for you anymore, it's outdated, or you're, sidestepping things, or not speaking your mind, or maybe you're speaking too much, whatever it is, Jupiter will expand all of this. And around the full moon in your sign, this part is your responsibility. So you're realizing you're having the light literally shone on you, and you're assessing whether or not you feel like you're comfortable speaking your mind, or asking for what you need, or just telling people how you feel, or also standing up for yourself a little bit. But I do feel as well for you that there's a sense of fate with this full moon. When there's a full moon in your sign, it can bring up a lot of emotions for you. And I do feel that because the ruler of this full moon is Saturn, Saturn's in Aquarius in your second house, which is to do with self-worth and worth in general. And it is going to be trining the true node, albeit your ruler Saturn is also squaring off with Uranus. But this true node trine in your sector of work is asking you, Capricorn, how much your destiny is changing in your day-to-day routine in terms of going after what it is that you want work-wise and money-wise. In this energy, it's very, air signs for you, Capricorn. A lot of it is to do with the material, it's to do with the resources and the practical, and you work well with that energy being a Capricorn. But because the full moon is shining on you, it's asking what it is that you need to do in order to get there and what you've been doing so far. It's really quite reflective for you, but it is a beautiful one because of Jupiter. This can bring you opportunities, especially in terms of communication and conversations. It might be around this time you have a conversation with someone that really benefits you in the long term, benefits you as a person. And again, I'm getting this, sibling or neighbour, or just a conversation that really lights you up or helps you see things more clearly. We also have Jupiter and Neptune going retrograde in your sector of your third house, basically. This is a time to really address for yourself what your preconceptions have been, especially in terms of faith, in terms of dreaming, and in terms of that idealistic energy where you can tap into this excited, I believe in the universe, the universe is conspiring in my favour type energy, and what your preconceptions really are with that. Maybe you have felt very lacking in optimism lately. Maybe you have felt like you're not quite there yet with something that you want to achieve, or maybe you've been through a really tough time. And I feel for you, because I do think that Saturn squaring Uranus, because Saturn's your ruler, you're kind of being asked to figure out what it is that you really want that makes you happy, and not just what makes you feel stable. Basically, with Saturn in Aquarius for you, you've been doing things a certain way for a very long time when it comes to money, when it comes to income, when it comes to, the things that you can hold in your hand, or you have in your bank account, or you have in your house. And it's squaring off with Uranus in your fifth house, which is more to do with pleasure, fun. It's also where we create something. So for a lot of you, maybe you have been realizing with these squares that you actually really want more fun in your life, you want more joy, you want more pleasure, you want more romance, or you want to create something that you can leave behind in this world that isn't necessarily super practical. So you have a little bit of friction going on there. And I also feel with Mercury being retrograde in your sixth house, don't beat yourself up if you're late this month, if you're late for an appointment, if you're late for a work meeting, if you can't get logged into your work computer, or you miss a project, or you're just not on the ball completely. That's because it wants you to slow down and really wants you to reassess your schedule and if you're taking on too much. But one of the things that we sort of got with you, Capricorn, I just drew you two cards because the full moon's in your sign, and I wanted to keep it quite simple, but we got the World. And the World is to do with Saturn, your ruler. And the World is whenever we have successfully completed something. With that full moon in your sign, sextile and Jupiter, be so proud of yourself, what you've achieved, what you've overcome. It could be with this World card that there's going to be an opportunity to travel, a trip. And for a lot of you, with Venus moving into Cancer and Mars moving out of Cancer, your partnerships are really going to improve, especially when Venus meets Neptune in your third house. The more you and your partnerships talk and you discuss things, the better it's going to be. And with the World card, there could be a lot of success for you in these areas. In fact, there's openings for success in a lot of areas for you, Capricorn, because you know more than anybody that what we do in the sixth house benefits our long-term goals, because small habits add up. And we're also finding with this World card that with the full moon in your sign, it's likely that you're going to be getting some good news for yourself, or you have completed something, or there's a lot of good feelings, a lot of good vibes around this full moon in your sign, especially in terms of career and in terms of success and culmination. Maybe you're planning a trip. It just feels very much like you have to be proud of yourself for something. There's something that's going to make you feel really proud, Capricorn, and make you feel really confident with the third chakra here. Make you feel really driven to go after what it is that you want. And I do feel for a lot of you it's in a work setting, but it could also be a fitness goal. And it could also thrust you into the spotlight a little bit with that full moon in Capricorn coming up. So that is what I have for you, Capricorn. I hope you have a beautiful month, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Aquarius, welcome to your June 2021 horoscope and tarot scope. Aquarius, we have a lot of energy happening in your 5th house of fun, of pleasure, of creativity. We have a new moon solar eclipse there, meaning there is a new beginning in this area for you to draw in more excitement, more pleasure and more fun in your life. At the same time, we have Mercury retrograde in that area, meaning that you could hear from people you used to date, you could hear from old friends, you could reconnect with people that you used to hang around with, you could recreate with people that you were artistic or creative with, you could pick up projects you used to do. And it also means that you could address some issues that you have with love and romance. If you have scars from the past, if you have past experiences that are still defining you at the moment, because we're leading up to a full moon in your 12th house. When we have a full moon in your 12th house, it's usually quite emotionally intense. There's usually something comes to light that we weren't aware of, or something that we now need to be aware of. And this isn't always a good thing. Sometimes it can be that there's something we need to let go of. But this one is sextiling Jupiter, and Jupiter is in your 2nd house of self-worth and self-confidence. I feel for a lot of you, if you're in some situation in your life where you're not getting what you deserve, or you're not being treated fairly, this is a full moon where you probably let it go for your best interests. What happens around this full moon, what is let go of, is for the greater good for you, because it's going to benefit you in terms of money, in terms of confidence, in terms of time, your precious resources. It's going to be a good thing. For others of you, that's not necessarily about letting go of something. It is that you're going to be cleansing yourself of an old way of doing things, or an old way of feeling that is going to benefit you again in terms of your money, in terms of your confidence. It could be that something comes to light that is positive for you, Aquarius. But with the Death card, I really do feel like a lot of you are letting something go. Now, one of the reasons that I'm saying that for you so much as well is because we have Saturn in your sign, Aquarius, squaring Uranus in your 4th house. Uranus is the past. At the moment, Uranus is innovating the way you see your past, the way you see your family, the way you see your home situation, and it's squaring off with Saturn, which is how you see yourself at the moment, and where you've been restricting yourself. There's this pressure going on with you guys between who you are as an individual versus your family, and how maybe you need to get to grips with your family in order to be more free yourself, because Uranus is your ruler. And when Uranus is in your 4th house, it's shaking up your family home, it's shaking up your relationships. It might be changing the way you see people in your family, it might be changing the way you see your home, and this can be a good thing. But Uranus is sort of prevailing in the Saturn aspect. That means the more that you can feel, you know, either it's not even necessarily about reconnecting with family or just idolizing your family or anything like that, but it can be to do with taking the gifts that you have from your lineage, your heritage, and being more proud of it in order for you to feel more complete on your own, to feel more complete as a solid individual. We have Mars moving into your partnership zone this month, Aquarius, so this can be challenging for relationships. This can mean that if you're in a committed relationship or a marriage, there can be some pressures coming from the outside. But Venus moves there on the 27th, which soothes a lot of this. There's going to be a lot of soothing and getting back on the same page in your relationships once Venus goes in there as well. We also have Neptune and Jupiter going retrograde in your 2nd house. In terms of financial plans, it's a good time to get more realistic, to figure out what it is that you need to do for the long term, because there can be a little bit of rosiness with this, with Neptune and Jupiter in Pisces. You can get very rosy about finances. Everything can feel like it's flowing really easy, and then when it retrogrades, you sort of think, this is slowed down a little bit. What do I actually need to do to be practical? It just stops us going overboard. That's not to say you're going to lose financial benefits. But But really, Aquarius, one of the things that I've seen for you with Gemini season is regardless of the Mercury retrograde, there's a lot of love going on. We have the man holding a heart card, and we have the Nine of Cups. I feel for a lot of you like there is some sort of wish fulfillment going on for many of you that is going to feel very exciting. The Gemini energy, the Saturn energy, that new moon solar eclipse is trining Saturn in your sign, meaning that these new beginnings for you romantically are very true to who you are. Okay, they're very true to who you are. They might feel very idealistic and over romanticized at first though, so just go slow to make sure that it's something that you really want if you are dating somebody new or creating something. For a lot of you, I feel like it's a passion project, something that you really want to create for yourself. And mostly something that you're putting your heart into above anything else. You could also be dealing with a Scorpio in some capacity, Aquarius. But that is what I have for you. I hope you have a beautiful month, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Pisces, welcome to your June 2021 horoscope and tarot-scope. So Pisces, we have a new beginning in your 4th house with that new moon solar eclipse in Gemini. This means for you that you're beginning a new cycle in terms of your home and family life. For a lot of you, you could be expanding your family. For others of you, you could be moving. For many of you, you could be making plans to move. Now, bear in mind with an eclipse, the energy is going on in the background, so you don't necessarily have to go out and buy your dream home just because this eclipse is happening. But this is indeed the perfect time to set that intention more than anything else, to put a vision board together about your dream home, who you share it with, what it looks like, where it is. Even if you're not somewhere where you feel like you want to be forever right now, this is about thinking into the future. Thinking into, what it is that you want to experience in terms of your home in the future. And what kind of family you want as well. With the Page of Cups though coming up, I feel like a lot of you could be finding out around this eclipse that you are actually expecting, or you're expanding your family, or a lot of you could actually be having a child. But because of the trine to Saturn in your 12th house, there's a sense of fatedness to this, a meant to be. This is events working behind the scenes for you in your favour. It is squaring Neptune in your 1st house, so a lot of you could be finding yourself in a situation at this time where you don't feel like it's completely benefiting you, but you have this sense of this will work out better in the long run. So as I say, if you're not moving into your dream house just yet, it's because that Neptune square, you don't feel like you have it just yet, is what I'm seeing for a lot of you, but it's about manifesting your dream home family situation in the future. So set the intention around the 10th of June for sure, because this could actually manifest a lot quicker than you think. With eclipses, this could manifest in the next 6 months. Even if you don't feel like that's a tangible thing, it really could. We also have a full moon in Capricorn, and this is also pretty groovy because this is sextiling Jupiter in your 1st house, and Capricorn is your 11th house of wishes. It's also your 11th house of friendships. Some of you could be letting go of a friendship, I have to say, because it's not good for you. With the sextile to your 1st house, you're doing what is best for you, what makes you feel good. So if you're letting go of something at this time, it's likely to do with a group or a team or a friendship that's not working for you anymore. You could also be letting go of a dream that just you don't feel in alignment with anymore because you're changing. Jupiter is in your 1st house, expanding you and expanding your perceptions. So this could be a time when you really change what it is that you want. And if you do, just know that it is benefiting you because of that sextile. Saturn in your 12th house is going to be trining the true node as well in your 4th house, meaning that you are being directed towards your dream home. Whether you can see it or not, you are be. So trust the universe. You are be, you are, so trust the universe. Venus moves into your 5th house on the 2nd, which is to do with love and romance. And this is going to be giving you a real boost in this area, Pisces. The 5th house for you, you've had Mars there causing a bit of aggression. This smooths it over. You're likely to be more attractive if you're single. There's a lot of love in your life. Your relationships are benefiting from this energy. And you're going to be feeling good in romance for the most part this month. So long as you don't have people in your ear trying to manipulate that with the opposition between the Cancer energy of your 5th house and Pluto being in your 11th house. So don't let groups influence you, especially in terms of what creative projects you want to do as well. Jupiter, your ruler, goes retrograde. Neptune, your other ruler, goes retrograde. We have the traditional and the old school, well, traditional and the new rulers going retrograde in your 1st house, meaning that you're just slowing down a little bit and considering if you need a little bit of a rebranding, if you need a little bit of a, rethinking what it is that you want to be, who you want to be. It's changing all the time, Pisces, I have to say. And you're an adaptable sign, you are quite a chameleon, but it's also important to establish what the core fundamentals are of your being, because they are there. Even if you get lost in your environment, they are there. Because Magician card, we have Magician and Cornucopia. For a lot of you Pisces, you are manifesting abundance. I do feel for a lot of you, please set your intentions or make a vision board or a dream board for a new home. If you already love your home, redecorating your home or adding to your family or family harmony. Because with Mercury retrograde there, you might be feeling, as I say, kind of disconnected from family, or there could be issues with family, but there's a new beginning going on behind the scenes that is so set in your destiny that it can't be ignored, but it should be trusted. So Cornucopia and the Magician, you're manifesting abundance. For some of you as well, Knight of Pentacles and the Page of Cups, you're manifesting a new job or a love relationship with Venus and Cancer that's more solid. Be careful of letting other people sway you too much this month. Try to listen to your own intuition and your own voice, and pay attention to those feelings about your destiny. So that's what I have for you Pisces. Take care. Bye.